If journalism is a joke, metal journalism is the punchline that doesn't land. The Angry Joe punchline, if you will. No matter the metal subgenre or the style of dress it inspires, the opinions and politics of metal journalists have pink hair, pierced areola, and a hammer and sickle scrote tattoo. Worse still, this has led to the mistaken impression in the public that heavy metal and its audience have over the past 15 years, and I pause for effect, gone woke. Folks, do me a favor. Watch Vince Neil mumble his medicated carcass through the Motley Crue set sometime. That bleach blonde beluga's barely awake, let alone woke. And as for politics, well, if the argument is metal should be Marxist, let's just say John Schaffer, Alice Cooper, and Blackie Lawless beg to differ. Non-Arizonans may be unaware, but after making Alphabet Aspies fill their diapers in unison when he suggested juveniles should not be receiving government-mandated transition surgery, Alice Cooper then all but endorsed Terry Lake, and eagle-eyed recruits in the Razor Force may recall the time Blackie compared Obama to the Antichrist.
Who is like unto the beast, giving his mouth great things to speak. If any man has an ear, let him hear, let him hear. Babylon's a burning, Babylon's a burning. 666 and 7 seals appear.
Yeah, a lot of you know I'm a big baseball fan, but I'm also part Native American Indian. I'm part Blackfoot. And to see this town cave from the Cleveland Indians to the Guardians has pissed me off to no fucking end.
Oh, but that molehill was dwarfed by Iced Earth band leader John Schaffer's 1776 excursion on Jan the 6th, 2021.
My name's John Schaffer. I'm from Indiana. A group of thugs and criminals hijacked this country a long time ago. Now they're making their big move, and it's not going to happen. And that's what it is. These are globalists. These are the scum of the earth. These are the criminals that are behind all the fraudulent fiat currency. They're behind all the wars. They're behind all the shit. They're behind divide and conquer tactics, behind the racial divide. It's all nonsense. It's all garbage. People need to wake up and snap out of the matrix because they're going down. They've made the move. They're messing with the wrong people here. Trust me on that. And we needed it to be open like this. Open fraud, open theft. Because now we see you, and you're going down. Mark my words.
Are you expecting some sort of violence? Like, are you expecting to clash with some other groups?
If somebody wants to bring violence, I think there's a lot of us here that are ready for it. We don't want that, but if they bring it, we're gonna respond to that. Trust me.
For a full breakdown on this topic, consult my John Schaffer did nothing wrong rant from a couple years in the rear view. But the long and Shapiro of it, John Schaffer was at the Capitol on that faithful false flag in question, inciting insurrection by brandishing bear spray. What is bear spray, you inquire? Perhaps a cologne for gay bikers? No. It's essentially an even milder variant of pepper spray that causes less throat and nasal irritation than half the menu items at Taco Bell. The sort of thing it's recommended to strap to yourself on the off chance a suspiciously well-funded arm of Antifa elects to crash the party, as they had about 1,100 times over the preceding year, resulting in millions in property damage and, around 30 deaths in a single month. And as protesters filed into the Capitol after police parted the barricades and ushered them in, John Schaffer would be among the first to find himself prosecuted for the offense of following them into the halls of Congress. Sorry, John, you can't just stroll into the congressional chambers. That hallowed ground is reserved for sacrosanct proceedings like the State of the Union, judiciary confirmations, or violent gay butt sex porn. Plus, I'd hate for you to interrupt our elected officials cowering under their desks. But as profoundly pissed as I happen to be at the alphabet agencies, the DOJ being corrupt is about as surprising as a Chris Nolan film where someone wears a one-size-too-small suit. It's the shocking, stymied silence from figures on the right that bowls me over like a Turkish water hose. Tucker talks a good game on Jan 6 detainees, but ask him to utter one mumbling word about arguably the single most famous face involved in the event and observe the wily coyote cloud as he vanishes off into the distance. All the alternative media in existence in 2024 proffering hyperventilative coverage and interviews of the Jan 6 shaman, who is himself yourself a non-conservative, walking, talking, literally who, and yet not one of you pricks is paid a visit to the platinum-selling metal musician who should, by all rights, be the face of this farce? All the Aspies on X, each with his own interchangeable podcast, beating his MAGA man boobs about how subversive and anti-authoritarian he happens to be, and yet you all somehow manage to miss a railroad job so blatant you can see the smokestacks from space? Worse still, in the absence of countervailing coverage on the right, the narrative around John Schaffer has been wholly subsumed by the pinko parasites in so-called metal journalism. Who, you inquire? Take your pick. The Bolsheviks at Brave Words and Chuddy Knuckles, or the Mensheviks at Metal Cucks, the latter of whom I've teabagged like Vince McMahon on a WWE intern. But the cliff notes are as follows. From tabloid caliber clickbait articles about the Inquisition accusations to a prolonged PP duel with deathmetal.org, Metal Cucks is to journalism what John Wayne Gacy is to clowning. But Brave Words is its own unique vintage of vag-rot, one which spans 20 plus years at least. In 2004, while promoting my personal favorite Iced Earth offering, The Glorious Burden, it was Brave Words who would not only repeatedly falsely allege the historical military concept album was political in nature, but would then proceed to suggest that 9/11 was justified on the basis of the prior history of U.S. involvement in the Middle East. And I quote, "Some political analysts have articulated the view that what happened on September the 11th was justified due to America's presence in the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia. Some political analysts view it as retaliation for what the U.S. has done in the Middle East in the past. As a Canadian, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about this view that's been put forth by analysts." To which Schaffer responded, "No, it wasn't justified, not at all, and anybody who says so needs to have their fucking head examined." The Brave Words bobblehead then rejoined, "Do you think 9/11 will be viewed as the first event in the U.S. empire's decline and fall?" At which point Schaffer opened up a bottomless barrel of bass by saying, "No, this is not an empire, first of all. If the United States was an empire, your country would be the 51st state." Whoo, lad! It was in the aftermath of this exchange that Iced Earth would enact a boycott, which Brave Words elevated into a ban of any and all coverage of the ban on the already actively imploding website. Look, media is media, folks, with or without metal wallpaper. Journalists have been sucking down socialist sausage since the Paleolithic period, and if you're waiting for that particular leopard to change its spots, let's just say you'd have a better chance of seeing the part in Howard Stern's hair. You're welcome for the name Streaming for Vengeance, by the way. Maybe if you continue to steal the name of my show for the next 10 years, you'll be able to draw upwards of 5 1/2 viewers for a change. Seriously, Sunshine? A brand name print magazine stretching back decades, and you have to steal my ideas to score viewership numbers that look like Biden's IQ? Just because you Canadian commies don't believe in property doesn't mean you're welcome to appropriate mine. I tell you to kill yourselves, but I don't work for the Canadian government. All those 80s parents bashing over and over Ozzy because of the song Suicide Solution. Turns out he was singing about Canadian healthcare all along. Look, metal media is just the Washington Post with guitar solos. It is not to be mistaken for metal listeners. Sure, you have the odd member of the Portland Politburo who jumped ship after the hipster movement smacked the Scheissberg and went down with all hands, but hipster garbage is just like regular garbage. It blows from one gutter to another. This week it's metal, next week it's menudo. These ain't fans, folks. These are tourists. So do what any self-respecting Italian does to anyone wearing a camera. Ignore their obnoxious asses and go about your hairy way. Metal pulverized punk. It napalm new wave. It got past grunge and murdered metalcore. It was here when bitter old pricks were preschoolers, and it'll outlast everything on earth along with cockroaches, Duracell, and Dark Side Phil, which if John Schaffer ever receives genuine justice and is exonerated, is about as long as you'll have to wait for the mongs in metal media to print a retraction, proving one thing and one thing alone. Scoring a job as a metal journalist is easier than Amber Heard on Spanish Fly. Hell, if that bald dude whispering his way through Wikipedia articles on the Rock and Roll True Stories YouTube channel's any indication, all you need to qualify as a metal journalist is a microphone that works and a conscience that doesn't. Maybe go back to truly hard-hitting music journalism, like breathless coverage of Taylor Swift deep deepfakes. Yeah, quick question. How did Taylor Swift know her porn was a deepfake? Easy. Porn has better music. I'm Razor Fist. Godspeed.
Arizona needs a good heavy metal governor.
Why?
You know, it's a rock and roll state. They just don't know it. You know, it's a very closet rock and roll state, and they're ready to break out. And they just need a guy like me in there just to push them a little bit, that's all.